Now that we've played a fair few Pokemon bootlegs, you know we have to talk about arguably the most legendary bootleg of all Pokemon bootlegs, Pokemon Jade and Diamond versions for the Game Boy Color. It's pretty common knowledge that Diamond and Jade versions are actually bootlegs of Keitai Denjuu Telefang or Mobile Phone Beast Telefang. Keitai Denjuu Telefang is a Japanese game developed by Natsume, a company best known in the West for previously publishing the Harvest Moon games. The Telefang games come in two flavors, Speed version and Power version, much like how Pokemon has two versions for every release, so it's easy to see how these games were ripe for bootlegging. But are they really that bad? Do the Telefang bootlegs deserve the disdain they've garnered over the years? Let's take a look. Jade version begins with Beck, the player character, hitting a baseball over a tree and then getting transported to the Electric Monsters world via a magical phone call. With that kind of brilliant storytelling, looks like I won't be needing these anymore. Beck now becomes the game's equivalent of a Pokemon trainer, a T-Fanger. A magical talking turtle gives Beck his first Pokemon. Oh, wait, I'm sorry, Electric Monster, which is a four-legged gray creature named Fangs. The reason for this is that the village depends on a man named Netaro, who is in charge of carrying water to the entire village. But recently, the villagers haven't got him for many times. Netaro's brother Nejiro is likely to blame, because Nejiro is the local troublemaker. With Nejiro causing havoc, Netaro is unable to get water. As a result, the village constantly runs out of water, and everyone looks very worried. Hey, looks can be deceiving. At least they're not actually very worried. I'm gonna level with you guys. I used to hate Pokemon Jade version so much because it confused the crap out of me, and to some extent, it still does. A better translation would do wonders for the game, but it's not even close to the worst game I've ever played, by over a country mile. The game has monster battles that try to emulate the capture and battle mechanics of Pokemon, minus the somewhat odd placement of the nameplates, but the overworld is more of a Zelda-like game, complete with diagonal, grid-free movement, dungeon areas, and towns with colorful characters. Another cool thing about the overworld is that your starting monster follows you around, just like Pikachu in Yellow version or the first Pokemon in your party in Heart Gold and Soul Silver. The music is also pretty nice. It's got that Game Boy Color charm to it and really instills the emotions that the game is going for at any given instance. The graphics, again, have that Game Boy Zelda-like thing going on, which is a good style, and the gameplay is responsive and smooth for the most part. There are a ton of little extra features included, such as choosing one of a variety of ringtones and the ability to choose whether or not you enter a battle with one monster or multiple monsters. The latter is a really great inclusion, because you can choose whether or not you want to spread experience points out to multiple monsters, similar to the EXP all found in Red, Blue, and Yellow versions, or just go it alone and power up one super monster. But don't just think you can bring a bunch of monsters and overwhelm your opponent with sheer volume alone. There's a monster queue, which shows just how much time there is until the monsters you've chosen for your battle party actually come to help you out. Different situations and different monsters affect the call time, so there are definitely benefits to footing it alone versus going in as a team. I think it's a really great mechanic, and overall I think this is actually a decent game. That is to say, Keitai Denjuu Telefang is a good game. Jade version benefits from a lot of the good things found in the source material, but there's a lot of issues exclusively found in the bootleg, including game-breaking bugs and other malicious flaws. This is a result of the poor quality of the bootleg. Along with a bad translation, this leads to a lot of negative gameplay experiences. A lot of these things could have been ironed out with a little bit of polish, which would have done Jade version a huge amount of favors. Capturing monsters functions differently from catching Pokemon. In Pokemon, you find a Pokemon in the tall grass, whittle away its health until you feel confident enough to throw a Pokeball at it, and then, depending on your luck and the catch rate, you may or may not succeed. In Jade version, you can encounter monsters even outside the tall grass, and once you do, you just have to beat it all the way dead. Afterwards, it may or may not give you its phone number. It's essentially luck. Another weird thing about the battle system is that damage and status effects are only contained to the battles in which they occur. You won't have to worry about them carrying over to the next battle because your monsters will be automatically recovered. This is actually kind of nice because it's something you don't have to manage yourself, but it does remove a layer of challenge found in other monster capture and battle games. Another small issue specific to the bootleg is that after each successful battle, it says you've captured the monster. That's not always true. That's just an indication that you've won the battle. Whether or not you've captured the monster depends on whether it gives you its phone number after the battle is over. Speaking of the monsters, the designs are kinda ugly. I mean, they're not all terrible, and obviously the designs have varying quality, but many of the designs are these bland, kinda muted colors on monsters with these weird shapes and angles. I mean, look at any starter Pokemon. Again, they're all of varying quality, but they have these thematic colors that easily communicate the possible typing, the possible statistical advantages or disadvantages, and even without thinking of the gameplay benefits, the colors just add a lot of brilliance and vibrancy to the Pokemon games. In general, there aren't that many blandly colored Pokemon at all. Now take a look at the first 3 monsters I caught in Jade version. My starter is a big brownish gray, rock formation of some kind. There's a gray stingray monster that appears quite frequently early on, and this pompadour sushi roll with horse legs is also very gray. In fact, it's 2 different shades of gray. There are other monsters that are more colorful, but they mostly stay in that safe, kind of washed out color scale. Oh, and the monsters in Jade version know how to talk, just like Digimon, and the monsters you capture are not afraid to talk to you. You know how in the Generation 2 Pokemon games you get random phone calls from people you registered in your Pokegear and they tell you stories and stuff? Well, Jade version goes one step further with random phone calls that last all of 1 sentence. My favorite one I ever got was this one. The entire call was, "Have you ever tried curry?" That was it! Seriously, have you ever received a call that was just 1 sentence and then click call over? Skipping ahead a bit, this here is Nejiro, the troublemaker. He says he's going to beat me to death? Whoa, dude, chill out. We battle and I easily win by strategically having my monsters gang up on him and beat him to death in a 3-on-1 confrontation. Afterwards, he says he's worried about his brother Netaro, so he gives us, literally a complete stranger and his monster companions that just beat him up, his phone number and a key to the room where his brother is sleeping. Stop! Hate Netaro now! Okay? I think this is a good enough stopping point for Jade version as anywhere else. Is Jade version a good game? No. It's a crappy bootleg of a good game. So is there any way to play a good version of Keitai Denjuu Telefang without either importing the game from Japan and then learning Japanese or just playing through the import blindly? Maybe not, but there is a sequel to Keitai Denjuu Telefang, which has its own unofficial fan translation done by the real JD Bai and Norm Matt. Let's take a look at Keitai Denjuu Telefang 2. Right out of the gate, it's a huge visual improvement. Now I know you think that's just because it's the Game Boy Advance, and yeah, there are some things present that are only possible because of the improved hardware. But beyond that, the visual advancements reach down to the root of Telefang 2. Gorgeous environments are further augmented and brought to life by vibrant overworld sprites of equally vibrant characters and creatures. Look at all this color! Unlike the first game, where the first 3 monsters I encountered were brown, gray, and darker gray, the first monsters I saw walking around in Telefang 2 were green, purple, yellow, red, and pink. There are still some gray monsters walking around, but that's okay because visually everything is appropriately themed to convey information to you as a player. Even your starting monster is better, primarily being blue and yellow rather than slightly tan. The gameplay has been reworked and improved as well. Telefang 2 got rid of random battles, and enemies now appear on the overworld. You can sneak by them Metal Gear style or engage them. This is nice if you're running low on health or just can't be bothered to fight. Battles are now much more like Pokemon as damage and status effects carry over between fights. This adds a huge amount of use and necessity to in-battle items which were pretty much useless in Telefang 1. The presentation of battles has even been improved, adding location-based backgrounds, monster sprite animation, and attack details such as the type of technique and the attack's elemental damage if applicable. There are even features present in Telefang 2 that Pokemon didn't add until way later, like enemies calling for help. This makes battles more difficult, but there are other changes to help you out as a player, such as how you have a turn in battle that is independent of your monster's turn in battle. This lets you heal your monster and attack back to back, instead of having to heal and then immediately taking damage. Again, the overworld copies Zelda, and they've doubled down on the Zelda-type action. They've definitely changed the art so it doesn't look like Zelda, and the gameplay has little details that are different from Zelda, like the run button, but overall, it's still pretty much Zelda. You can even go inside someone's house uninvited, break all their valuables, and then steal their possessions. Oh crap, are you okay? Shit, I'm getting out of here, dude. There are dungeons again, and believe it or not, throwing objects at enemies is actually a gameplay mechanic. Stunning enemies with thrown objects lets you just walk past them on the way to rooms that have valuable items and treasures. Throwing stuff doesn't have that same satisfying Zelda feel, though. Telefang 2's objects are thrown in an arc, so you have to be careful aiming your throw or else it'll sail over the enemy's head and you'll be susceptible to entering a battle. The dungeons start off simple and straightforward, but they get more complex as the game progresses. When you throw in the monster battles, you get a game that offers a very fair challenge, being tough without being absolutely merciless. Keitai Denjuu Telefang 2 took everything that worked about the first game and either improved it or added to it. There are still some issues with this game, and even the fan translation isn't perfect, but as a complete package, it's far better than the first Telefang game, and definitely better than the Jade version bootleg. If you're mildly curious about playing any of the Telefang games, I'd say give Telefang 2 a shot. Hello?
Have you ever had spotted dick?